Welcome to Kohler Bold Art, an occasion where we celebrate art and design. Kohler, as you know, has been a world leader in the kitchen and bath industry, and of course, design is in its DNA. All the products that come out of the Kohler stable have a strong design and aesthetics aspect to them. And we've been strongly associated with designers and art for the last 140 years, and we are rather proud of it. Kohler has also been running arts and industry programs wherein artists are invited to the Kohler campus and they design products for us. So tonight, ladies and gentlemen, Kohler Bold Art attempts to facilitate a conversation between leading designers and architects. So before I introduce our featured artists tonight, I'd like to invite the Managing Director of Kohler Kitchen and Bath India, Mr. Salil Sadanandan.
Good evening and welcome to Kohler Bold Art. You folks are probably as surprised to see me kick off this session as I am, because I know absolutely nothing about art, design, and least of all, architecture. But then I could say that I know not much about music either, but I can endlessly argue about who is the better guitarist, Knopfler, Clapton, or Hendrix. I'm a follower of rock, and I have an opinion. This is my journey from a Philistine to a fan. I spent a couple of years in this magnificent, iconic building, but for the 18-hour study grind and the terrible food, I would have perhaps appreciated this more. The simplicity of the construction, the exposed brickwork, the large arches which let in light and wind at all times of the long summer day, the signature style of Louis Kahn, one of last century's foremost architects. He once said, "Even a brick wants to be something." In this instance, the Institute of Management Ahmedabad, the brick clearly wanted to be an arch. When I joined Kohler, the company I'm currently working for, a few years back, my friends were aghast. Why on earth have you joined a bathroom fittings company? But privately, I must confess I was a little unsure. And only when the Kohler family flew me down to this wonderful design center in the village of Kohler that I realized Kohler has elevated bathroom fittings to an absolutely different level. Here is another company completely rooted in product design. I think it is time I vacated the floor for the real experts. Just remember, people like me perhaps cannot understand you, but we are fans and we appreciate you and we love you. Thank you for tolerating me and have a very good evening. Thank you.
We begin this evening with Shahrukh Mistry, a well-known architect and founder and MD of Mistry Architects. Even before sustainability became a buzzword, Shahrukh had implemented green practices in all his projects. His works range from tsunami rehabilitation projects and SOS children's villages to giant exhibition centers and luxury hotels. He and his team integrate local material and local craftsmanship, and he loves to experiment with recycled products and natural materials and gets a high when he works with stone, I believe. Shahrukh Mistry.
I want to talk about two issues. One is an issue which some of us know, but a lot of us still haven't understood the immensity of it. I worked with the tsunami rehabilitation work, and I was there at Pondicherry on 26 December 2004. So I know what water and our oceans can do for us. And the other thing that I want to talk about is today, if there's one thing I want all of you to take today from here, is to take this word abundance. Because we've been talking about scarcity for a long, long while now. It's nice to be thrifty, but I think scarcity between the years, poverty between the years, is something that we need to kind of get out of. I've been fascinated with clouds, and its ephemerality in this particular context is amazing. It carries the most important aspect of life, which is water, and it just disappears after it's finished. We are all designers here today. Can we design containers that could do something like this? This is another container, a container that we make, a cradle to the grave, but yet this will take probably 100 years. Look how the Moray eel has used the container. Reef. One of the few things that happens in nature is that whatever we produce, either nature or man, and we're part of it, it'll start to break down immediately and pull things back into its constituents. This is Talumben, where we dived many, many years ago. Symbiotic relationships. We seem to have lost a bit of it, but look at this. The Sclena rasp, these are the two of them there, and the moray eel on this in the middle. And there is an element of trust that is there that works in this world. I want to take you folks to another amazing area, 10,000 meters, Mariana Trench. All along I thought the sun was the only attribute to life till I realized that 1,000 feet below in the sea there is no light. And communication for 95% of the species is through bioluminescence, through light. The fight for food, for progeny and shelter continue. And this is how the undersea creatures kind of work towards. These are living lights in the ocean. Thank you very much, folks. I hope you enjoy.
All right, we're on to our second presenter. And he's an architect and urban designer based in this city. Some of you may know him. He's Bijoy Ramachandran. Bijoy, ladies and gentlemen, will share with us the process of creativity and how it actually pans out for an architect such as him.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a wonderful group of people. So these are a couple of New Year cards. So this is something from 2001. It's all the stuff we did that year, and then we did it together, my wife and I. She graduated that year. We had 2 weddings. We put it all on a card, and then we superimposed the image of both of us on there, sort of embedded. So we're interested in that embedded meaning of things, finding solutions from the conditions that we're presented with. This is my undergrad thesis project in Banganga in Mumbai, a beautiful, fantastic sort of religious precinct in Bombay, a large tank at the middle of the site. And I found the perfect site for an insert. And I also started understanding the nature of that context and these connections that all the buildings had to the sea. Each of these buildings, and these are some of the measured drawings, they all had the central spine and they accessed the tank and the ocean. And then the building also, the general principle for the building was derived from that understanding of the nature of these architectural projects within that precinct. This is a project we've done in Banglore. It's with Allies and Morrison. Again, the idea of the program being the origin of how you deal with things. We did all the interiors in that building, but then the idea that the structure of this building became the driver for all the decisions that we made with the interiors and how the interiors can be put into that structure so that it was very carefully inserted and articulated in a way that the structure always read through and was the paramount condition that you noticed. This is a project we did with Allies and Morrison again for the Nalanda University. Again, the origins of the project coming from an understanding of what a campus is, what an institution is. But we were also interested in the existence of a very large, not a very large, but a large mountain range at the back of the site on the south, which you see in this diagram. And this idea of an asymmetrical plan that then opened out to the south, the mountains, but was a closed environment on the top. And the idea of a dense urban fabric which had very simple buildings but a very complex and articulated open space network.
Okay, questions and comments?
A lot of the stuff that you have shown is so intuitive in your design response from the site to that well. What are the triggers that you wait for, or what triggers that thinking or that process?
The clues are everywhere, you just have to keep your eyes open, and of course sometimes it takes a lot longer. Hopefully your clients are with you for that journey. But when it happens, everybody's excited because now you have a really fundamental way to approach the site. It's not capricious. Yeah.
That makes me ask you the next question, which is that if it doesn't happen and you've got a client who's pressurizing you, do you walk away from the project?
Well, we just don't put it in our portfolio.
Next presenter is Dr. Sujit Kumar, the principal architect at Climeart. The name of his firm is derived from Latin, where clima means climate, and so climb art is the art of designing with climate. Dr. Kumar will speak to us on caves to penthouses. Are we still green? Dr. Sujit.
Thank you, Reni. Thank you, Kohler. Good evening, Bangalore. So I look at nature and say, most people say there's no geometry, there are no lines and squares and cubes and so on. I look at it and say, there's fantastic amount of geometry. Yesterday I picked up a plumeria in my garden near to the fish pond. And I looked at it and I turned it around in two pictures and put it across. And I couldn't find a better sense of an involute or a spiral or a helix in there. Let's start with the cave. I'm just running through time. But caves are unique because it uses natural material by removing, not adding into it. And in that material, what you're actually doing is build negatively rather than build blocks. So when I look at architecture over the period that inspires me, the architecture, like look at the Burj Khalifa, and I look at the slenderness ratio, the amount of cross-discipline that goes into doing that. And then I look at a flower and look at a hibiscus, and you see the stamen. There is so much of action that happens in nature which defies the most logical sciences that we apply, but we don't learn from them. These are the buildings I do, and I call them high-end residences. We do metal that looks like wood. We do bricks that look like plaster. We do mud that looks like concrete. And in the middle of this, we try to find context in the architecture we practice. In a nursery school, I never understood why should you have straight balconies or straight corridors. A child never walks straight. But why in an apartment should you have 4 copied apartments of the same type and each apartment faces different angles? Or why would you do a resort in a hill with materials which are traditional but not from the same place? Why would you do anything at all that defies the logic of nature? So I take an example of 200 years back from Kerala, one of the Tarawad houses which we replanted into Bangalore. This is 200 years back, no waterproofing, but it never leaked because you used the slope of water. You never fought chemistry, you never fought physics, you applied that. You used wood to temper temperatures inside, you build buildings without foundations. But when you do the architecture for senses, you have a question you ask yourself, how do I build from today? Or how have I been building? For future, there is only one answer. It has to be sustainable, and that's a different word we all interpret in our own words. But the only way forward is that if it is in harmony with nature, there is that much less you need to fight every day. There is only one planet, and the resources are limited, but if you could apply them, then we can use it to advantage.
We've saved the best for last, and it has to be a woman. So we've got Aparna Narasimhan, an architect with over 2 decades of experience. And Aparna will tell us how architecture can be inspired or drawn out of art. So ladies and gentlemen, Aparna Narasimhan.
This talk is divided in 2 parts, drawing what you see, hence analyzing from it, and drawing upon what you have seen already and simulating what you want to see by that. In the next slide, we have 2 characters, if you can observe them closely. One is a wizened old man with a keen eye out for customers, and the other is a young Italian impresario who I met in a boat on the way to Burano. And the body language is clear. One is hunched up and waiting, whereas the other is leaning back. Nature is something which lends itself to patterns, series, and growth. As you can see in the bamboo grove there, where the leaves are getting smaller as they are newer, and the nodes of the bamboo are also closer as they reach the terminal end. Framing and contrasting are effective ways of seeing too. The Jharoka here, which is framing the chhatri in the skyline beyond, is an example of that, and the house here, which is contrasted by the landscape in the background. Now, reversing the process, you carefully create spaces that you want to see by making drawings. At various scales and various details are important here, whether it's a contour plan of the site, and then how you carefully build, keeping that in mind, and create these open spaces. here in this building, you can see the thought given to the treatment of spaces without the building, and that is as important as the spaces within. So the paving and the green spaces just flow in and out of the building. So you have a building, a house with a bit of the house in the front and the other half of the house at the back. Sketches are tools to rework ideas. You reject them sometimes or modify them, and you sometimes dimension the sketches so you understand the spaces better and you realize what needs to be changed. It's fun to sync all the parameters possible. When you do a master plan, you have feasibility, you have bylaws, you have access, you have navigation, and of course FSI for the builder. So ensuring that these numbers do not subsume the original idea, it's important that you make several sketches so that the end result would be something which looked spontaneous. It's just an idea of sketching all the time and trying to understand.
I have to ask you this question. Every time you look at a system, you look at complexity of buildings that can be manipulated using complicated software. And against that, when you use the wedge of your charcoal, there is a conversation.
Yes.
There's a conversation because you're all the time, looking at what you have shown today, and there is a huge amount of passion to express and to work with the ability of what you can do by hand. So what is your comment on that?
In the process of designing, when the mind is more important, it's only the hand which keeps pace with the mind. And you need to draw at the same pace that you think. And when you draw an AutoCAD line, it just shoots across the screen. And before you can think, it's already drawn. And I feel there you miss a step, and then you falter all along. That's what I feel.
Applause for Aparna. She's done pretty well. And I think the hand clearly wins tonight. Whatever you say, I think it's good to use your hands and be creative there.